Today on The Corner with Camille Syed, we have a boxer who started her career at the age of 31. As an amateur, she won a New South Wales title, an Australian title, fought around the world, and as a professional, she's 7-1 with 4 KOs, ranked number 11 with the IBF, and soon to be ranked with the WBA and the WBC. She's vivacious and vibrant. Viviana Ruiz, welcome.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you.
No worries, thank you for being here. Now, Viviana, as we were saying in the introduction, you started your career at the age of 31.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I never done any martial arts before. But I think like back home, like in Colombia, you really don't see that. No,
Okay.
not much. Like sports is not very supported, obviously.
Okay. Were you athletic growing up?
At school,
Yeah.
yes, I was the basketball team, volleyball team, the sprinting team, anything that it has to be with sports, I was right there.
Well, yeah, you just mentioned school there. So take me back. Let's say we're both in school together. We've got a 10-year-old, 14-year-old Viviana Ruiz. What do you like in school?
Oh, well, I was in a nuns school, so it was
Okay.
very Catholic, just females. So it's really different. Like when I started, I was a nerd. Like
Yeah.
I was just like always raising my hand to answer the questions, doing all my homework. But then you got to a point when you change to, I think here is school and high school, right?
Correct.
When I change to high school, we don't have that in Colombia. It's just from year 1 to year 11.
Okay.
So that's how it works. And right in the middle, I got bullied a lot for being a nerd.
Okay.
So I think everything changed there.
Yeah.
And that's when I jump into sports.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
that's what I
something
find.
different.
Sports often for people who aren't fitting in school is an escape. And that's generally been the something that's happened throughout history. Sport is an escape for people who aren't fitting in. And I want to know, as you said with school, you weren't sort of fitting in a little bit and you were doing sports and you felt a bit more comfortable. What was home life like? When you're at home, how was things growing up with your family?
Well, so I've got my mom, my dad, and a younger brother.
Yep.
But unfortunately, my first memories is my dad drinking. My dad is an alcoholic.
Yep.
He's been drinking for since I have memory. So it was obviously a lot of violence when it comes when an alcoholic is in your place. It's a lot of violence, and obviously back then, like I don't know, 30, 35 years ago, that was really normal. Like
Violence?
Oh yeah, I mean you got hit. My mom used to have black eyes, and nobody did anything. Nobody. So I think like you think that that's just a normal thing to be part of it. So
Yeah.
I think that's why I also got into sports to escape that,
Yeah.
escape home, and that's one of the reasons why I left Colombia too. Yeah.
And so you have a very close relationship with your mother, correct?
Yeah.
So obviously growing up, it must have been quite difficult to see her in certain situations or in this type of environment, correct?
Yeah. It was really hard because she's the most strong woman I have ever met. Like she worked all the time. She was the one provided for the house. She was the one who put me in a good school. Also my brother. She was working all the time. On top of that, living that violence is just,
Yeah.
She's the most amazing woman I have ever met. She's a legend. And
Yeah.
she taught me to be strong.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no time to
Mm.
cry or feel sorry for yourself, which I never have been that person.
Yeah.
And I think my brother he's a little bit different just because I really protected him from that violence at home. I was the one who, like, if they start fighting or something, I just took him aside. It's like, okay, let's go play to the park. Let's do something. So it's a different.
So it sounds like you recognized what was going on quite early on,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
were like a motherly figure to your younger brother.
Exactly. Yeah, I always feel like I have that figure with the people at the gym.
Yeah.
You've seen it. You've been training.
Yeah.
I always like do this, do that. I always feel like I need to protect the people that surround me. I feel that way.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. I can see that.
Yeah.
And so things at home weren't necessarily the best. At school, sometimes they weren't the best. Sport was an outlet. Then when did Australia come about, and why did Australia come about?
So I loved sports back home, but obviously, so Colombia, the economy is completely different.
Yeah, correct.
If you're born in the poor side, for you to get out is really hard. So there's two classes.
Okay.
There's the people without much resources and very rich people.
Which class were you?
Oh, yeah, in the less resources one.
Yeah.
So the only way for you to get out of there is with a good education. So I had to pick between medicine or some sort of engineering.
Yep.
And I hate blood. I was like, nope, I can't do that. Definitely not. So I have a degree in telecommunications engineering.
Yep.
I got a diploma in network security. I studied a lot, and also all because of my mom.
Okay.
She worked so hard, and she gave me that opportunity. So as soon as I started working and getting some income to support my family, there was a lot of advertisement in Colombia about they were looking for immigrants to come to Australia because I think there's a really high number of elderlies in Australia. So they were promoting a lot. Come to Australia, there's a lot of work, they're giving visas easy. And I just saw that opportunity. I was like, well, I'm gonna see what happens. And I went to one interview, sort of like that. And I loved it. I was like, well, I'm saving, I'm out of here. Just boom, as soon as I had the money.
So you came to Australia on your own?
Yeah. So, I had a partner back then.
Yeah.
And I came with him, so it was a very good support.
Yeah.
But I came with a lot of debts. I had 2 huge debts back home.
Okay.
Plus, because you need to show that you can stay here for longer than 6 months.
Cool.
Then pay an English course, so much money. And I just loan. I was like, I'll pay it. It should be fine. So yeah, I go here with no English. I know I was thinking.
So no English at all?
No English. So you learn some English obviously at school.
Of course.
But it's one class a week, and you never practice the basics.
Yeah.
Future, present, past. That's it, pretty much. And Australian accent is completely literally. I did not understand a word.
Yeah, it's a different English way of you.
It's just toilet and bathroom. You learn bathroom because it's American, right? And then they were saying toilet here, and I was like, what? What's toilet? I was like, no. Even just that, no idea.
What were some of the other things that you found difficult in your transition to Australia? So language is one. How about the culture compared to Colombia, and just the people in general? Was there issues there when you came?
Yeah, of course. So obviously back home, I think South Americans' family are huge. I imagine Italians, Greeks, we all have huge families. Not just your mom and your dad. It's in Australia or England. I found that in Europe. So it's sort of you go your mom, and then your aunties around the corner, and your other auntie, and it's all cousins. So it's 100 people all the time, every week.
Yeah.
So I never had friends. I really never had friends back home. Okay. I had my family were my friends, and my cousins were my best friends, and my grandma was my other friends. You know what I mean? So it's just that. And then you come here, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm alone, completely alone. It's really, really hard.
Difficult.
Your personality completely changes. You become. I was this shy person and barely talk. I remember that I got bullied here as well, because know they're talking about you, but you don't understand. But they're laughing about you, but you know that, and it's just. You got nothing.
And
literally got nothing.
How did that make you feel when you were getting bullied? Did it bring back memories of things that were happening in your upbringing?
Sort of. I'm not the sort of person that just sit down and cry.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you want them to stop? You want to make something out of it?
Yeah.
Let's go. I just start watching more TV, reading books.
Yeah.
Every day I was studying English and doing my homework, going over and over and over to get out of there, because there was no any other way.
No, of course.
And I didn't want to go back home.
No.
to be honest.
Was leaving home an escape for you, in a sense?
Yeah, now that I sit down, like before I was thinking like, oh, I just want to explore the world, blah, blah, blah. But I never even left home. Like I left from home to Australia. Like never been anywhere, never had took a plane, things like that. And I just like, boom, 23 hours flight to a different country, no language. It's like, I've seen that I needed to get out and see where I'm out of that.
Well, it takes a lot of courage to leave your home, go to another side of the world, essentially where you don't speak the language. It takes a hell of a lot of courage to go do that. And then somehow, at the age of about 30, 31, you get into boxing. Where? How? Why?
Well, after you pass the struggle, the first year here, couple of years, which was really hard because imagine I had a telecommunications degree. I was working in one of the biggest companies back home. I was in charge of like 10 men in the industry. And then you come here and I have to start like going to work in a restaurant, at a cafe.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge step down, which is not a bad thing because it taught me a lot as a person. But at the same time, when you start getting comfortable, then I think obviously because my dad and my family, so they drink a lot.
Yeah.
So I had that. I really like alcohol. Yeah. I know I have a problem. So I try to keep myself away from it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then I got no family to judge me. I know no one. Yeah. I was partying so much. I was just like, and it gets to a point that you forget why were you here.
Yeah.
Like I had lots of debts. I want to help my mom. I want to help my brother to have better. And you forget because you start getting comfortable.
Yeah.
And you earn money here so easy, literally.
Yeah.
You can work anywhere and then
wages are high.
There you go. And it's so different, obviously. So I think one day I just woke up with the worst hangover of my life. Like,
best decisions have started with a hangover.
That one's that you were like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why are you doing this? Like, so I started walking on the streets in the city, and I saw that gym is called Fight Gym, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. That sounds like something interesting, and I just don't like normal gyms. I don't like that pretentious of photos, and I don't understand how women go into a gym with makeup. Like how?
Yeah.
Why? You there to sweat and be one with your body but obviously there's two different cultures. There's the ones that actually go and train, and there's the other ones that just go
want to look good
to find guys or stuff. But I don't judge, but I never liked that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I never go to a gym. And then I went into the gym and all the girls were like, not all, it was two women there, to be honest. And they were like hitting, and it felt like that sort of like, normal. I don't know how to explain it, but everyone was they were sweating, people talking to others. And I just jumped in one class and the teacher say, oh my God, how long you been boxing? I was like, never. First time. And they were like, wow, you got it. You got what it takes. I was like, yeah.
So and then obviously you had about 60 amateur fights, correct?
Yes.
And you became a New South Wales champion.
Yeah.
An Australian champion. You fought in Turkey. You fought in Spain. You fought overseas. India.
Women's World Championships.
Yeah, you fought the Women's World Championships. Like that's quite incredible for starting at that age. And one thing that also impresses me that I don't think a lot of people know is that in the Australian team, not every single fighter is funded. Some are funded, some aren't. Yeah. And you unfortunately were the ones that one of the ones that was not funded. How did you manage to work, find the funding to fund your international trips and your training?
Yeah, well, when I started boxing, I was working for the Commonwealth Bank.
Yeah.
So you have your office job 9 to 5, and I was training in the morning, in the afternoon. But obviously, when I started boxing, you can count the number of females, and you know who they are. Yeah. So on the state and around the country. So there literally were like 3 or 4 girls that you have to defeat. but you don't have any steps. Like now that
Yeah.
people can do exos and tutus and blah, blah, blah. You don't have that luxury. So, for example, on my 5th fight, I fought Bianca Almer. She had already 50 fights. She was gonna go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I had to fight her on my 5th fight because there was no one else.
Yeah.
And I saw my performance and I was like, well, I'm never gonna beat them if I continue this road, which is working a full-time office job and training. So one of the things that helped me was obviously Ben.
Yeah.
Ben has been the biggest supporter in my career all the time, because he was like, okay, we're gonna do this, let's do it, just quit your job. And I was like, oh my God, like there's nothing worse than depending of a man. I can't. For me, like again, there's so many different ways, but so because of the history that I live at home, I never wanted to depend on anyone ever. So depending on him was really challenging, and not having you weekly income and things like that.
Yeah.
But he just made everything happen. And my way of showing appreciation and is the way I train.
Yeah.
What I win, the battles that I go through. Like,
it's quite incredible that you kind of went against your upbringing in a sense and against your moral fibers, that you became, I guess, dependent on your partner.
Yeah.
Which is kind of normal in a sense, because you always want to be dependent on your partner in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But
it's that independence that you're like, oh, don't let it go, bring it back. But again, like sometimes you have to do what you have to do. It's such a hard sport.
Yeah, and in chasing
and I
a
don't
dream,
have like sponsors and things like that.
Yeah, especially in the females, in the lighter weights in the females, it's very, very difficult. One, they don't get paid as good in the pros. Two, there's not as many out there, and there's very few in Australia. So you obviously have to travel internationally to get those fights. So I wanted to talk about, as you transitioned from amateur to the professional ranks, you turned pro at the age of 37, which is incredible. Like, I'm not sure many people realize how difficult that is to turn pro, let alone turn pro at the age of 37.
Yeah.
And your pro debut, Beck Moss, third round stoppage. You'd fought her a couple times in the amateurs, correct?
Yeah, we did.
On a no limit card, televised around the world. Yeah. How was your pro debut? How are you feeling?
Oh, that was the best feeling in the entire world. that was amazing. The roller coaster of emotions. Yeah. Because I mean, with all the amateur experience I had, I didn't want to tape my fights. Like I didn't want to fight easy fights or things like that, because why? I mean, I had no time. That's one of the things that I had in my head. You got no time, so stop messing around and just do it. So when she said yes, I was like, oh my God, I text her. I was the one who's like, hey, girl, do you know anyone that wants to fight? I'll fight you. I was like, sweet. I was like, oh my God, amazing. Let's make it happen. So that's how that first fight went. And obviously in a no limit card, which is amazing, televised, by stoppage. Yeah. It was the greatest experience. Although, you know, I always wanted to say this. When they're doing the hands, you know how people is like, oh, smiling and the headphones. That's my worst nightmare. I don't like it. I don't understand how people enjoy that.
When your hands are getting wrapped?
Yeah, I hate it.
Why?
Because it's that moment where you think. So for me, it's all about living the moment, right? Yeah. I taught myself that in every competition or tournament, because you're always so scared that you burn so much energy. So obviously I started reading books and meditating and all this stuff, and I was like, okay, the key to not be nervous is focus on the present. So for example, I always tell that my boxers, when you put your shoes, don't think about the fight, put your shoes. Ooh, the laces are really nice, my socks look good, and I start looking at myself to not think about it. Yeah. So when they do in your hands, that's the moment that I don't know what to do. And then you start thinking, and I'm like, no. Like literally, I remember that day, I was like, why am I doing this? Why? Why are you jumping in the ring to get punched? Like, well, you're not getting paid much. You know, you could be working in a bank, earning good money. Like everything went in there so hard. Like it was the worst at that moment. Really, no.
And what managed to get you through it? Because like you said, in that moment, you're getting your hands wrapped and you're not in
I
control of
was
doing your hand wraps.
shaking. I really to run. I was ready to like, you know what? Let's not do this. I
You're
don't
hoping
care.
something gets in there like,
Yeah,
it
I was
doesn't
like,
have to happen.
and I don't want anyone to tell me, oh, relax, it's so good. I don't need you to tell me that because I hate that. I don't know. I just like, well, literally, you can't do anything, Viviana. You just have to deal with it. I was just waiting for, please finish, please finish. I was like, come on, finish. When they finished, I went to the bathroom. I was like, okay, let's get back to it. Let's snap it. Let's put, and then I started thinking about my skirt, and I came back to breathe. It's okay.
I think it's a thing that a lot of people don't realize for fighters is that mental struggle, not just in the ring. In the ring's okay because it's kind of habitual, but the lead up, the back rooms, waiting, that's, for me, in my experience, the worst part because you're not in control of much. And you're just thinking about the future, what's going to happen, which is like you're saying, it's so important to be in the present, in that second, literally tying your shoelaces, being in that second. And then, so we go from your pro debut, 3rd round stoppage, and then about a few months later, you fight Jacinta Austin on, again, another
No
weight
limit
card.
card,
But I didn't understand this. Well, I kind of do, but you moved up 2 weight divisions and you looked absolutely tiny in there against Jacinta Austin. It was like David and Goliath. But was it just there's no fighters? There's not that many, there's not that much competition in Australia around that weight?
So having the amateur career I had, and I'm experienced and I'm strong. I know that. I'm not bragging, but yeah, I'm very strong, and I'm so all the other girls that turned pro, I could name them. I don't want to, but they all turned me down. Oh, I'm not ready. I'll fight you in a year. I need more fights. I need to prepare. Oh my goodness. So I start messaging. So again, I'm not the person that I'll wait. You know, I can't do that. I'm always taking charge of everything. So I start messaging everyone. Just you, who. And then finally someone said that Jacinta would take it, but she won't take it on any lighter weight.
So you were actively, messaging your opponents to get fights?
Yeah, everyone. I was messaging everyone. Not the actual opponents. I was messaging people, for example, in Melbourne and Canberra and so forth. I started messaging everyone. And she was the only one who raised the hand. And I know how hard that fight was going to be because, 2 amateur fights, but like she was Anya's Stringman sparring partner. She's been a martial artist for a long time. I sparred her before. I know the challenge that I was jumping in, but I was like, well, I'm a professional boxer. Let's go. But then you learn from your mistakes, right?
Of course. Split decision loss too, so it's nothing to be down about.
And you learn that you need to stay on your weight. Like the weight division, professional boxing is completely different. So
it's also good in the women's. I've noticed as well. A loss early on in your career isn't that bad. A lot of the women's fighters have losses in their careers early on, especially.
Well, that's what my previous manager told me, and nothing happened. I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, a loss is good. It will attract more females to fight you. And then I was like, again, waiting. I was like, no.
So with your previous management years ago, why were you reaching out for fighters? Why were you messaging fighters? Why were you messaging promoters? That should be your team, your manager's job.
I know. Because nothing happened. Every time I was calling him, it was like, yeah, you gotta be patient. It will come. I was like, I got no time. Like as you mentioned, I started at 37. I'm not, at the end I started at 21 when you can have one boxing, one fight, have a break. I got these bad things or whatever. I got no time.
You have to go.
Yeah, you have to go. I'm aware of my age. I'm aware. I'm in the peak of my career. Like I feel so good. I'm at my best. it's like my best physically, mentally, boxing skills as well. Like
Yeah.
I'm just on another level now.
Getting better.
Yeah, I'm completely different. So I wouldn't wait. I cannot wait, and I think he didn't follow me on that.
Yeah. Well, I think, like you said, speaking of cannot wait, you literally, after the Jacinta Austin fight, you're 1-1. It's the start of 2022.
Yeah.
You're having a little bit of troubles getting fights. You pack your things,
Yeah.
head to Colombia.
Mm.
You have 4 fights in 3 months,
Yeah.
all off your own bat. You see your family for the first time in a couple of years.
Mm.
Tell me, it's just mind blowing for
So-
someone professional to go there and be like, I'm
I
going to go fight.
know. So we sat down with Ben. It's like, well, this guy is not doing anything.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? I obviously you wanna be in the no limit and this and that, but I was like, it's nothing happening. You're not giving me options. You're not giving me anything. And Ben is like, no, nothing is gonna happen here. No one wants to fight you. No one wants anything. Just go.
Yeah.
He was just like, go. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I packed my bag exactly like that, went back home, and I only contact one guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how professional boxing is in Colombia.
Yeah.
No idea. But I knew that South America would be way easier because they smaller.
Yeah.
Mexico, there's a lot of fighters there.
Yeah.
Argentina has a lot of boxers. So I go there and I was like, okay, how do we do this? Let's go. So I became my manager, my promoter, my matchmaker. I arranged the purses, talked to the commissions, like everything.
You did it all off your own
All
bat.
by myself.
Wow, that's
And I
quite
had
incredible.
a manager.
Did you have a coach when you were going to the fights or the rings or a gym to at least train in?
No. So when I go home, there's a gym close by and I start training there. But I know what it requires to be a pro. And after you with Ben,
Yeah.
he's a great coach. You know that you're working on techniques and things like that. All what they're doing is holding pads. And you're like, oh, okay, no, you know.
Yeah.
So for my first fight, so this promotion just started in Bogota. So I talked to them, I contacted them. They said, oh, it would be amazing.
Mm.
And they actually care about female boxing. They are the ones who started, like I was the main event in all my 4 fights there, which is amazing.
Wow.
And I was recognized, I was in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I got a lot of interviews on the news, and it was really, really nice to be recognized, appreciated back home.
And what was it like fighting in front of your mum, your family?
Oh, she loved it.
Yeah?
She was here when I was at Nationals for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So she has seen me before.
Okay.
So she was pretty much my coach.
Your mum?
She was in the corner. Yes. So she doesn't speak English. So she was, Ben and my mom were with some cues. Like she knew what she needed to say and Ben knew what to tell her. So she was in my corner.
Yeah.
Ben was watching the fight live.
Yeah.
And she was screaming, and I know what she was saying. We practiced that so much.
So how would it? So was Ben communicating with your
To
mother
with my
while
mom.
she's in the corner
Yep.
of your fights and he's watching live in Australia?
And Ben was screaming there. So he's telling my mom, and what she was saying, I know what I needed to do,
Yeah.
and it was so funny. And the first fight, so the guy that he was gonna help me, he had other boxers, and his boxer before my fight lost.
Okay.
And he got so upset, he left. Literally. My mom and I just watched him, see ya. And I was like, okay, calm down, Viviana. What am I gonna do? And I saw a guy on the crowd with a bag and gloves. I was like, hey, sorry, are you a coach? He said, yeah. I was like, can you please do my hands? And Conor, he said, oh, of course, come here. And he did my hands. And I was like, look, I'm just an aggressive boxer. I'll be fine. Don't worry. I got this. So he just jumped in the corner with me, a random guy. And I stopped the girl the second round. First or second round. Yeah. It was crazy.
That's incredible. Your coach has left because he's annoyed that his other fighters lost. And then you literally find a random guy in the crowd. Excuse me, are you a coach? Can you help me out? And that's your coach for the fight.
I know.
That's incredible. And then you had a really good run in Colombia. You won a Colombian title, correct?
Yeah, national title.
Yep.
The WBC Latin American.
And that was against Joanna Zuniga, who had a decent record at the time.
Yeah, she was hard.
Yeah.
She has 4 other world champions. I learned so much from that fight. I learned, I've seen it before. Well, the little tricks. That's what I never learned.
Yeah.
Like little tricks, like the holding, all this. She was so good at it, and she was aggressive, and she knew what she was like. It was really good, and the fight was at 2 a.m. 2 in the morning.
Oh.
It was so late. I got there at 7 p.m. And then it keeps prolonging, and this happened, and this happened. It's not as organized as here, obviously. You have no idea. Literally, in one of the fights, someone used pepper spray in the air. So they had to put fans and open the windows. They stopped fights. It was, it's crazy.
Wow. I'd love to go see a Colombian fight night. Pepper spray in the air, everyone evacuated.
Yep.
Wow.
No, they didn't even leave. Everyone was just like, yeah, okay. Just wait for like 10 minutes. Okay, it's all good. Let's go. All right. I really like that because I'm always being a strong woman, but when you come to a country such as Australia where it's very comfortable. You live an amazing life here.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful country. There's food, there is no violence, there is no problems, there is no, you're never gonna get robbed. Maybe no. It's not that Colombia is super scary, but it's very different.
Yeah.
So you get comfortable and you start becoming slightly weak.
Yes.
I noticed that because when I went back home, like I literally, because of the altitude, I almost pass out, and you literally can pass out and no one would notice. You're like, oh, sorry, too bad. An ambulance, they know at your hand. So it made me go back to my roots.
Yeah.
How strong, how much determination I have, where I want to be. I saw my mom, my dad, like my brother, and not the struggle, but they working every day from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday.
Wow.
Like it's so different from here. Like,
made you realize the privilege that we live in over here, correct?
I'm blessed, I'm privileged. I'm like, wow. But I'm like, at the same time, I like help so much my family.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy.
Of
like
course.
going back home and see how much I've done.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
So it sounds like that gives you the drive to keep pursuing this path.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy path. And as you get deeper into the ranks, it's harder to get fights. So it sounds like going back home kind of rejuvenated you along like, okay, this is justified. This path I'm going on, I'm right. I'm doing the right thing. And then you come back, you have different management. You signed with Steve Scanlon and you fought in Thailand.
Yep.
You got a stoppage and then you fought in
Brisbane.
Queensland.
Yeah.
And that was for the WBA Oceania and the WBC Australasia title, which is hopefully put you in the rankings with those two governing bodies.
I am going to.
Tell me about that great fight and that experience of finally having the belts. When I saw your arm get raised, I could see the belts around you and you're almost in tears. That's how much it means to you.
Well, yes, because I feel like people don't understand all the background of this.
Yeah.
Like, people see just like, oh, it's only WBC. Like, some people will say that. But to get to be the main event in an Australian car with Steve, like, he is a blessing, literally. Anyway, when the thing that happened with him, I had a conversation with him. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, look, and he said, I saw you in the No Limit car. And you make people smile and enjoy boxing. Bring back what boxing is about. It's about a beautiful sport and being happy to do what you do.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm helping you. I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you a world champion. And I was like, well, everyone says
Of
that.
course.
And I kept looking. I kept like, okay, I'm going to do this. I was like, Viviana, stop. You just train.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I can't, because I have done that where I'm just waiting and nothing happens. It's like, please, please have faith on me.
Yeah.
Please. I was like, okay. And then I'm home, like waiting, training. And he made everything happen.
Yeah.
Literally, he's just like, I got this fight. I got you this. I got you that. Bah, 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 bah. Like, it was, he's a legend. He's a legend for the sport. And I'm really sad he's not part of it anymore.
Well, that's what I wanted to also talk to you about is after that fight, after his show, he's someone who's put his money where his mouth is. He came into the game, secured a fair bit of market share, got a lot of fighters, Wilson, Goodall, Hardman, etc., etc. Now, he's left the game after the show. He's put a Instagram post saying, I'm done through whatever circumstances, I'm leaving, I'm moving on. Where does that leave you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, yeah, it was very, I feel like this is well, I don't know many managers, but I knock so many doors. I had an email to 10 managers, to different promotions. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
First, because I'm a female, and second, because of my age. Nobody cares. Literally, I knocked so many doors that it was so frustrating, to the point that when Steve opened his doors for like Jess Messina, Danvers, like boxes that people don't care, but so they're like, oh, you need to sell, but you're not giving them the chance.
Yeah.
No one is giving the chance to these boxers to show what they have. I understand if you give the chance and,
Yeah.
then I agree with it. But they're not giving any opportunities, whereas Steve literally opened the doors for boxers that want to show their skills, want to sell tickets, want to show what they are. So at the moment, obviously, I've got no management, but I keep pushing myself. Like at the point, like I'm been contacting people in South America, in America, and in England.
Yeah.
So I'm always busy, and I have different contacts, different approach. So I'm not gonna say what's gonna happen, but I think something big is coming.
You're trying. You're trying. It sounds like everything you've been through with your childhood and your upbringing, coming here, going back to Colombia and fighting, coming back here, losing the management that you thought was going to help you and support you long term. That tenacity is still there. You're not giving up.
No, because then what's the point of all the effort you're doing?
Yeah.
Imagine, I did thought about it. I was like, I think it's a sign. I was like, it's a sign of what? It's a sign of, like, every person that comes to your life, it has a purpose.
Yeah.
That person that comes into your life always has a purpose. And when the purpose is finished, they leave.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. And it's hard for you to see it at that moment. Like, obviously, that week after my fight, I didn't have a chance to celebrate.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had a chance to, like, take that in.
Yeah.
Which you should, because every time you do something that big, you should enjoy, like, because you work so hard for it. But now I feel like more calm.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to do this and that for the next steps. But yeah, like, what would be the point if I just give up?
That's right.
Like,
everything you've been through for
yeah,
what?
everything. It's never easy. And I just understood, like, you know what? It's not that my life is suffering and stuff. No, it's just make it more fun.
Yeah,
and
of
make
course.
him, like, flavor everything. Like, again, when you saw me with the belts, people say, but it was just, you have no idea to get that.
Yeah.
That pride of a WBC belt and WBA messaging, especially when I say I was going to stop her with a body shot.
Yeah.
Man, that was, there were two things there. Like, everyone is like, oh, you shouldn't give your strategy. I was like, everyone does it. But then showing that in the ring on a fight, that's the other part. I was like, no, I'm not knocking her out. I need to drop you with a body shot.
And it worked. You got the stoppage with the body.
Yeah.
So that's your management. That's your career. That's your path. That's your upbringing. Now let's look to the future. if we talk about a couple of the world champions, there's 4 belts, 3 world champions, Mexico, Argentina, USA, Esperanza, Mucino,
Messina, yeah.
Mucino, Alanis.
Alanis.
Who do you want?
Oh, to be honest, either.
Doesn't bother you?
I just want the opportunity. I'm ready for them.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I never underestimate anyone, but like you obviously have trained with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I never take the clutch off. Like I'm always training, fighting, competing.
Yeah.
Like my training is unreal. Even after this fight, my coach, obviously Ben and Matt, my strength and condition coach,
Yeah.
they're like, please have a break. I beg you. Okay, I have 2 days off. That's it. That's all the break you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I train once a day. That was my break. But I'm always training. And like I said, I'm on my best boxing skills, performance, athleticism.
Right now.
I'm ready for them. And yeah, any of them, the
Yeah.
WBO, the WBC, the IBF, I'm ready for them.
Yeah.
I just want that opportunity.
Now, the final question I have for you, I'd like you to make a statement in the camera to all those who believe in you, support your journey, your family back home in Colombia, Ben, all your teammates, anyone and everyone who supports you. This is your legacy. I want you to talk to them and tell them why you're doing what you're doing and what you're going to do. Floor is yours, Viviana.
Ooh. Well, just obviously, I'm coming for a world title. I'm determined, I'm strong, I'm powerful, and I'm surrounded by the best team I could think of. Ben Sava, he's the greatest coach. He's going now to England to coach, to be in the corner with Dara Foley. And I'm part of that group of strong mindset people that I'm part of that group. And I just want to show them I belong where they are too. Like Dara is an amazing human, and I love being next to someone that strong. And he also always gives me such a big appreciation of the work that he's like. He always tells me, "How do you keep training? Why? When you know nothing is coming right now?" And I'm like, because I got a goal. I'm gonna be a world champion, and I'm gonna defeat all of them, and they're gonna see it. And just I can feel it in my body. Everything is coming together. Even if I don't have a management promotion, I'm showing everyone in this world who I am. Yeah.
Viviana Ruiz, thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.